your perseverance. We've been talking about bringing this particular show to Moorhead for, I think, 6 years at least. So we finally did it. Also want to thank Walter for his perseverance through the last month. I know it was not fun, but here we are. Got to thank he and Becky too. All of the work that you see before you and that you would have seen over at MSUM, they drove down to Moorhead in a trailer at the beginning of September. And they're going to be returning it all back to Minot after it gets loaded up tomorrow. Of course, we also need to thank Greg Fettel Jr. and the Northwest Art Center for being such excellent stewards for this body of work and for sharing it with us here. Also need to thank Jane and Matt Torgerson for sharing 4 lovely works from their collection, 4 paintings that you'll see around you as you look at the exhibition. And also, although if this is your first time at the exhibit, I'm sorry you just missed it, Rich Gallagher also loaned a really wonderful painting that Walter did of Rick's shoulder, which was on view through yesterday. We'll try to bring it back the next time we do an exhibit on shoulders work, so stay tuned on that. Additionally, golly, I need to thank all of our members. If it wasn't for your support, we couldn't make exhibitions like this happen. The grant agencies that provide vital operating support for the work, including the Minnesota State Arts Board, the Arts Partnership, and the Ashland Area Foundation. Let your elected officials know just how much you appreciate being able to see fine exhibitions like this. It's because of support from those entities. Lastly, but certainly not least, I must thank our staff and volunteers for getting this exhibition up within the 3 days after the 66th Midwestern ended. We had to make 114 pieces of artwork disappear from this level and get this exhibit up in a very tight period of time. So thanks everybody for making that happen. With all of those thank yous aside, please join me in giving a warm Rourke welcome to Walter Piehl.
This is amazing. I feel bad for you folks that are standing. When you get tired, you've got to leave or just sit down on the floor if you care to listen to what else is going on. Yes, this is a homecoming for me. I love the Rourke. I started college at Concordia in 1960, same year that James and Orland started the Rourke Gallery. Downtown Moorhead. I don't know where that was, but I always knew it from the fall of the year when we were at Samuelson House? No, it was Martinson House, where he had the Rourke Gallery that's ran primarily by himself. Place where you can buy art supplies, mock art, see art. It was a wonderful place, and we exhibited there. Solo shows a few times, not here, but tried to participate in the various theme shows through the years. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It's just, but I love the work. When you walk around this place, upstairs, downstairs, I mean, there's art everywhere. It's just a great institution for part of Moorhead. And I love coming over here to the East Coast to see it. The elephant in the room. I had a very good friend from Becky in my hometown who called me yesterday and said, Walter, I hear you were going to be at the Rourke. Are you going to be at the Rourke? Because you heard I'd been ill. He said, and I heard this is your farewell tour. My grandson there from Piehl, local East Coast, North Dakota, man and his fiancee, Amanda. Also known as Commanda. I need to introduce you. My wife, Becky, stand up. Exceptionally long-suffering, very supportive. Next to her, in front of her, is a grandson from Mandan, majoring in football at Moorhead State. On the other side of her is Ryder, that was mine. On the other side of her is Ryder, who's majoring in architecture, whatever that is, at NDSU. Nice to know that you sit on the other side. Okay, the elephant in the room. Yes. September 5th was going to be the opening reception, Saturday here. We were walking out the door in Minot, suitcases in hand, and I get a call from the emergency room at the hospital in Minot. They said, that blood test that we cultured finds that you have a staph infection in your blood. And this is serious, you need to come in right away. I said, no, what are you talking about? I said, I got to talk to the doctor. So I got a thing going on in Moorhead. I'm serious. So I did get to talk to the doctor, and he said, yeah. I said, I have a valve replacement and a staph infection in the blood is not a good thing to take a chance with. So in the hospital for some days. They gave me high-powered antibiotics. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, I was on that for a month, started to feel worse. They check me out again, they find out, oh, you have an allergic reaction to that antibiotic. It's just giving you pneumonia. Non-communicative pneumonia. So let's start doctoring for that. So change of medicines, new medicines, steroids to clear up lungs. That's the elephant in the room. I'm not on, this is the farewell tour. I hope to be sending word with Rourke and for their manual for years to come. Just like Mr. Jones in the back there. So many good friends here. I thought, I'm going to have to acknowledge all the friends that I see. There'll be 5, 6 of them. Well, sorry, I can't introduce you all, but it's great to be here. I've been to so many openings and closings in my 60-year career, and there have been 4 or 5 people there, and they've all been relatives. So this is and it's I should take my hat off because, but like other people here, it's my security blanket. Yes, I went to the accordion for 4 years. I got a teaching degree, worked with Cy Running was my primary professor, yes, an amazing teacher, amazing, wonderful man. I learned a lot from him. You wouldn't know it from the way I did everything against what I was told. I found out later. Cy Running talked about sophisticated color, earth tones, subtle tones, all of these things. And if you look at his work, if you look at Charlie Beck's work, beautiful, wonderful stuff. Dan Jones' work, wonderful stuff. You know, and I tried working that way, and I did work that way, and then I went on to University of North Dakota in the graduate program, and I was there, I don't know, a very short time. And Dave Brown was the paving instructor, and he said, I hear you go to rodeos on weekends. You participate. I said, well, yeah, my father has a stock contracting business. You know, bucking stock. and you produce rodeos, and you supply stock to the rodeos. Yeah. I said, why aren't you painting it? And I said, well, I didn't think cowboy stuff was appropriate. I came from Concordia, where it was landscapes. And hallelujah. And I just wrote it. You know, I didn't know that it worked. He said, there's nothing inappropriate for an artist to paint. He said, there's nothing that's out of bounds. It would be far better for you to paint rodeo. And good, bad, or indifferent, he said it would be better for you to paint rodeo than to continue painting those lame and insipid landscapes. I've been to school enough to know what that meant. So, once the shock wore off, I started thinking about art history, and of course, I thought, wow, this is, I mean, I love the work of Charlie Russell and Frederick Remington. I think they're just the best at what they did. And I love their work, but there was no way I could do the same thing. I couldn't do it at Concordia. I couldn't do it at UND. They wiped me out in the semester. I had to find something that worked for me, and that worked in a rather personal way. So I looked at art history, and I thought about the bull leapers of Crete. And I thought about the futurist painters of Italy back in the early 1900s, who were anarchists, who loved movement, who loved to paint in a style like the Cubists. But when they painted like Cubists, they made the subject matter move. Tanks, cavalry charges, airplanes, any kind of movement. Their manifesto called to never use a static subject that was standing still. It always had to be moving and full of energy. And their paintings looked like cubism, but it was very ratcheted. Tick, 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 and stuff moved. You know. And so I tried some of that, and we'll look at some of those. And I went through many different iterations of it, trying to make Western Americana work. Bucking horses, people spinning ropes, still life, yeah, all of that stuff. Graduated from UND, didn't get a job, decided, I did get a job. I went out to Dickens. When I didn't get a job after Concordia, I went to UND. My wife agreed to work, put me through school. I went to Dickinson, taught in high school for a year, and then to Valley City for 2 years, filling in for people who were on sabbaticals. And I thought, man, I love printmaking. I mean, I love prints. But I hadn't done a lot of it at UND, but I had done some. And so I thought, I want to go someplace and do printmaking. So I went to the University of Minnesota, wonderful printmaking department. And I was there a year, and then a job opened up in Minot, so I wanted to get back to the rodeo part and back to the roots. So we took the job, moved back to Minot, and I transferred credits later on to UND for an MFA in painting. As much as I love printmaking, I realized my temperament is not a printmaker. You have to be a good painter in order to know or visit here. You have to have discipline. Do these pieces look like they have discipline? I like to throw paint around. I like to get done with it. I like to move on to the next one. If you're a printmaker, you need to have discipline. And I found that the process killed me. I didn't have the patience that it took to do that. This matched my temperament so much more. So, rodeo, rough stock, bull riders, horse and cowboys. That was kind of the thing that started with it, but we see it back. I don't know, we'll talk about it here in a minute. I did other things, trying to bring the subject of Western Americana and bring it into a fine outlook. So maybe I'll just start going through this. should arrow this way, or we should arrow that way? Yeah. There it is. There's one that Cyrene told me. Piehl. I think you're gonna do all right, Piehl. Look at that big quad. When I got to UND, future, this is what their stuff looked like. Do you remember seeing a painting? Maybe you remember the title of it, "You Descended the Staircase" by Piehl. And it was controversial. My goodness, it was just radical at the time that people were going to tear it up. They were going to kill the artist for defying the sacred nude by making it look like this, sort of, kind of. This nude was coming down the steps, looked like a wooden soldier. And that was futurism of sorts, but the shop had its own thing going about it. So I tried this. I did lots of variations of this kind of thing. None of them survived. They were burned years ago. I found this one when I was putting together this retrospective exhibit, and found this one out in the barn, because I had saved a good piece of masonite, 4 foot by 5 foot, I think. So you use it to patch holes and corrals and things in the barn. So it's sitting in the back room, it's all scratched up and everything. It's just the way it came cleaned out out of the barn, framed up. But that was not a good solution. That's not the way horses and riders are talking before. They're more curvilinear, and that's too angular. This was a woodcut that I did in UND called Widowmaker, which was the name of the horse that we campaigned. Here's another one. Very regimented. Yeah, okay, it's not ridiculous. You see the movement. But no flow. Oh, that one a little better. That's etching. I wish I'd have done 100 of those, but I didn't. The horse rider probably fallen down. The American centaur, and the less common Greek variety, I think, is the title of it. American centaur. Okay, I was trying to be cute. Okay. These are cutouts of the illustration board pasted on there. Yeah, I wish I had it back in the studio. The guy's too big for the horse. Greek centaur is the body of a horse, the torso of a man, and I was trying to, work with that. But he's too big. He's too big for the horse. Look at that ragged tail on that horse. I mean, disgusting. So, anyhow, I remember a solo exhibit I had at the Rourke Gallery. Becky and I showed up for the opening to the half hour earlier, and I said, she said, "You spelled Iowa wrong." I had to get some charcoal and this is a print from University of Minnesota. Jim Daddy was the name of the horse. Teddy Roosevelt, that's a photo etching from also about 1969. Whoops. There's a silk screen that I did up in Minot with a bunch of very abstracted rodeo photographs. Collage, it's sitting right here. I did, when we first moved to Minot, I didn't really have a decent studio. I had a porch studio, and I did a lot of small pieces like that. I found that I really love collage, and I still use it a lot. Not so much in this exhibit. Throws his head. Okay, early work. You see the bucking horse. You see the abstraction. I'm looking for any number of ways to go. This piece, when I finished it, I looked at it, and it looks like a heart, kind of sideways. And I thought, wow, looks like a heart. That was the first piece that started me on this sweetheart of the rodeo artist by the name of Joe Moore, South American cowboy, moved to Mexico. And he made this wonderful poster. The Birds used that poster in their first Western rock album in the late 60s for the cover of that album. So I used it as a title of a series of all those water poses. Very abstract. It's collage all cut out. Then I did really got crazy with hearts. I thought, sweethearts, why not really make hearts? So doilies. And I took a lot of criticism from a couple of novels about that. What's with the lace? On paper, I did a lot of work on paper for decades because at the time everybody was buying houses in the mountains, building ski lodges, building houses. Everybody was borrowing easy money to build out there. And when you built the house in Golden, Colorado, you had to fill it up with Western art. So I had lots of galleries. There were a lot of years that I was an artist teacher, making more money selling art through all of these commercial galleries than I was as a teacher. But then it would switch and we go back the other way. Well, Charles Key broke the bank of the United States by this liberal lending policy. All those people went broke. His galleries went out of business. The whole thing died after, I don't know, 20, 30 years. It just collapsed. Sure, there were some of them, they'd come back. And there's some survivors. I just never went back to do it because it got to be too crushing, making that much stuff. It's on paper, I roll it up, send it to them, they'd frame it, and it was wonderful. I had a person call me once, middle of winter, and said, "You won't repeat that." "Oh, I just bought one of your pieces." I said, "Oh yeah, well, where's that?" He said, "Denver, Colorado, or Golden, Colorado, someplace out there." I said, "Oh, goodness, that's interesting. I haven't had a gallery out there for some years." "Oh," he said, "I didn't buy the gallery." I said, "Oh, private kind of deal." "Yeah, yeah, fine." So we talked about it, and we talked a little bit more. I thought, well, this guy is really reflective on anything I don't know. So I said, "Well, where did you get this piece?" He said, "That's the Salvation Army." I said, "What did you pay for it?" He said, "I think it was $30 or $40. I know the painting and sold either at Vail or at Aspen for, I think that time probably $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000. But these people, they went broke. They couldn't afford the payments on their houses. They walked away. Or they were rich people that got tired of stealing. They walked away. They just told the Salvation Army come and get everything inside and we'll donate the sale of the house to somebody. And so here's this guy. We corresponded for some for some years. It was records from storage. Then sober, even away. And you know what it was. Okay. See there. Yeah, here's about a horse that likes to come back around, and you better be screwed into him in a good way and move the outside. And I've been there. That's a bareback horse. That's a bareback breed that we borrowed. Jonathan said, "You know, I saw some installation photographs of the Duke once, and they had some rodeo equipment." It was like, I said, "Yeah, a lot of stuff with my sons." And he said, "Well, you know, got it, hang it up." So my son's saddle and his halter hanging on the wall, his boots. This is a bareback rig by Brewer. What's the name on it? His first name?
Dean Brewer.
Older brother. Their son is Ed Brewer. Yeah, I think it's Ed Brewer's son. He's been to the national finals in the bareback riding any number of times. And there's a bull rope hanging around there someplace with a big bell on the bottom. You know, it isn't really to tell people that the bull's coming. It's weight that helps. It helps the bull fall away when the rider comes off. Roping Fool series. The Roping Fool was the name of a movie made by Will Rogers back in the 20s, I think it was. And I thought, what steps in and out of it every time the rope comes around. Walking merry-go-round. She walks and she spins the rope and she steps over it around her back as she walks. Candle time. Strange names for bucket horses. It's fun. Oh yeah, Pablo is sad. Centaurs and minotaurs. Very big subjects from time to time in my work. Pablo Picasso loved him because he identified with him. And so here he is standing in the background, way off over there in the upper left-hand corner. He's sad because he's not part of the party. Awesome. Pablo was such a lecher. I use centaurs and minotaurs are a metaphor, I think, for the cowboys. They always think the cowboys being kind of wild and crazy. Well, guys who get on bucket horses, you have to throw caution to them. You have to be wild and crazy. I tried it. I wasn't wild enough. I wasn't crazy enough. I wasn't a good enough athlete to make it work. So I ended up being an announcer, a T-roper, lots of other things in the road. But wild and crazy, and I thought, let's put some minotaurs there and have a party with some centaur women. There were no centaur women in the Greeks, it was all men. But there's another one. A big minotaur screaming, shaking his head from side to side with these two voluptuous centaurs. Cowgirls. How many of you have relatives? You've seen old photographs of them sitting on their favorite horse, or maybe even standing up on their favorite horse. Now that's what this is about. They did lots of those. We had a granddaughter from Alaska come by and saw this painting when it was on display in Minot at the Northwest Art Center. I said, you know, Papa, that's me standing up on that horse. Here she is, somebody standing on a horse and she's spinning two loops, you know, fancy trip over. There's another one, merry-go-round, all this and so forth. I did that for a show. I think I did it. Could have been very good in yourself. I'm with you. Maud and Piehl. Yeah, cowgirl with her horse. You can see the horses moving a little bit. Head is moving from side to side, perhaps back leg, perhaps moving a little. There's a lot of movement. It's subtle sometimes, subtle movement, and sometimes not so subtle. You know, this was something rather than something. Now, there may be some angular things going on in there, but there's a lot of curves, a lot of curvilinear energy. I think I did this for a theme show too, and it had to do with constellations. Blue horse kind of looks like constellations back there. It's beautiful. I had this in a show at Plains Art Museum, and Rusty Freeman. Once I hate that painting, but I had to put it. I don't know why I hate that. I thought it was pretty wild and crazy. Well, another thing that Sly said, stay away from diagonals. Diagonals are the hardest thing you ever work with. There's just too much energy in it, too many points. So it brings too much attention to all those point areas going on. Most old bucket horses are all diagonals. The rider's legs are diagonals, their legs. So I thought, well, I have to give up on that thing before you. How to cure cowgirl or rodeo fever? Believe me, you can't do it. You can't do it. Once they got the fever. You can give them ice cream, you can give them champagne, you can give them chocolate sundaes, champagne, let's see. Fancy boots, gauntlet gloves. What else is in there? Candy kisses. I'm just going to keep running on this. So I Sally, another very diagonal button horse thing. The color, the contrast, to me, helps enhance the movement, helps enhance the energy. And so that's why they're so colorful. Rodeo is colorful. Spanish people, Mexican people, who originated rodeo with a roundup they called a rodeer, R-O-D-E-A-R, which became rodeo, which became very pageant-oriented. Color is always part of it. And color to me is a way to energize things. Another centaur, they follow the French folk painters. And I just thought the Wild Beasts was a good title for this one. I don't know what this stuff is in the bottom, it's just stuff. I like good stuff. If you ever went to the studio, it's full of stuff, right? Oh, there's one I like a lot. Horses do get in that position. Not many riders make it past that almost for a particular position, but they do. And I started using diagonals against the action and pointed shapes in there because I just thought, just see how far I could tickle. Sorry, running. I thought of that energy. Sharp pointed. War horse. The rest of that title was War Horse or War. What's it good for? And, that is a message of saddles, still life. I've done lots of saddles. I'm doing lots of saddles. This one is sitting back here. This one is very static. I would say there's really nothing moving there except some paint. The New York School of Abstract Expressionist, the action painters felt that the energy that the artist uses to put the paint down should also be something that is communicated to people who look at the piece. So the paint drips and splatters, and you can see that it was done with energy, should imbue the piece with energy. And there's some of that in that. So important to show off cowgirl. I was doing a piece with 2 cowgirls, and then Laura Reuter from the North Dakota Museum of Art said, we need a piece for show. And maybe she said, we're doing self-portrait, so. And so I changed the setting cowgirl into me. And you know what they have? There's something to on the inside, I think. Oh yeah, American Minotaur Suite. I don't have many of those here or at Warhead State, but the Minotaur is the man, torso, and the head of the bull in the Greek mythology. And in order to be a bull rider, you have to become part of the bull. It's my contention. And so that's the name of this whole series. Any painting that I do that has a bull rider is part of the Minotaur Suite. This bull is called Slice and Dice. That would be the name of the bull. Juice name. Okay. Still working on the diagonals. I was kind of flabbergasted when I saw this one hanging in the back room there. I thought, man, that guy just disappeared back there. Good. More saddles painted over the top of an old school room map, which I've done a lot of collage and paintings that way. Nasty Head, named after a friend of mine, of course. Prairie Skydiver, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's right there. The wall. And, what can I say? It's just Helter Skelter. It's a wonderful title. Left over from the Beatles, left over from Charles Manson. I'm not trying to celebrate Charles Manson, but Helter Skelter seems like a great name for a rock and roll, especially a nasty one. His mouth is, oftentimes as they talk, their mouths come open a little bit. You see a first times that I used the technique, no, it's not one of the first times, it's one of the first times we'll see it here, that I used the technique known as scratch, not squish. I can't remember exactly how you spell it. But you can see the rider, I covered up the whole area with yellow paint, and then I used my finger to draw and to liberate the paint underneath. So, that technique. Big skydiver, named by a very good friend of mine, bareback rider from the great cowboy poet, Falls, has just got the Great Falls, Montana. How do you get away from diagonals? I don't know. We can't. If you're going to paint cowboy stuff, you got. Is that it? That's it. Well, there we are. Now I would say, okay, class dismissed. I just sometimes ask for questions, and I'm sorry I talked so long. I should have answered questions because it made me more fun to listen to what people are asking and jabber around about this stuff. But somebody want to ask a question or two? We have time for that.
I'm curious where the Teddy Roosevelt that you did is located. Is that the new music there?
I've done, that's a print, so there was 20, 30 of them around probably. Yeah, they sold very well. Mark the quote history of Teddy Roosevelt, Mark Piehl, bad legs now. Walter, why don't you go after something popular that'll sell? I love the history of it.
So what advice would you give to young artists today? I think it's interesting that, you know, when you started running, that gave you this inspiration to follow cowboys and find your niche. And how, what advice would you give today to young artists, given that mediums have changed so much and, you know, the world of publishing and things like that?
You just got to keep showing up, keep trying stuff. If you want to keep at it. I just kept showing up, kept sending stuff off. I don't know, it's just what you do. If one technique isn't working for you, or if it leads to something new, go with it. Give it a try. If you find something you love, stay with it. Western Americana is something I love. The painting style has changed through the years in lots of ways, but the subject matter for me has stayed consistent. That's my background. But these young people today, I don't know, I mean, with AI, with computers, with all of that, it's got to be horrible for teachers to try to get students to work uniquely and individually and creatively on their own, or how to use AI and bend it to their own will. It's tough. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes.
I took a few classes from you in Devil's Lake in the 70s.
I don't even remember teaching them.
I think it was you.
We had lots of rodeos in Devil's Lake. I agreed to teach some classes there and have exhibits there. In the old post office building, I think, and in a bank building, probably in a shopping mall, in a ladies' dressing room. I don't know. During the rodeo,
The boys' dressing room.
So anyway.
In the 70s, though, I think.
Pardon?
I think it was in the 70s.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure.
Oh,
It was wonderful. I brag about it.
yeah. Well, you know, and Fort Cotton, rodeos at Fort Cotton on the reservation. We supplied the stock there many times. One of the more notable remembrances of the Fort Cotton rodeos was our two sons and their cousin all getting ringworm from riding the calves. And Royal Winter was just starting to have this gallery over here, Walter, I'd like to show some of your work. And I said, yeah, I got stuff. And she said, well, how can you get it? And I said, well, I'm coming over to Fort Totten for a rodeo here in a couple of weeks, if that's what you want. Yeah, she said, so I showed up with the tack compartment in the front of the horse trailer full of fannies, and the back part of it full of bucketfuls. Laurel and I laughed about that. And I've been hauling stuff in horse trailers ever since. There's one sitting right out here right now. The Laurel Reuter, by the way, who started the University of North Dakota Gallery, now it becomes the North Dakota Museum of Art, unfortunately is quite ill at this point in time, and she's been retired for a couple of years, and her nephew, Matt Wallace, has taken over very capably the North Dakota Museum of Art, and I think there's a great future for it there. But unfortunately, Laurel has been quite ill for the last couple of years. Somebody else will.
Yes, when I was in the Tucson Museum of Art,
Yeah.
and I was talking to a docent then, and I said, oh, we have Walter Piehl's in the Rourke Art Museum. And I went zing in her, status.
I'm lucky to have a piece of their collection.
Oh, man.
I
They got so excited.
did a demonstration at the last winter. I'm supposed to do a museum for them. It's a great museum, and I'm pretty happy to have it. Yeah.
My question is about your style of working. When you go to rodeos, did you bring a sketchbook at all, or take photographs, or is it all?
Move that fast. It's all here. You see a few thousand of them, you can conjure up anything. I have done studies before. I mean, to try to get something, I do drawings a lot of the time, but that doesn't mean, but I do less of that now because I find it's better for me to do rough drawings on the canvas with chalk. And I can erase the chalk with water or smear it or smudge it and keep redrawing it a little bit with chalk. Then I go into it with the paint. And the gestural use of all of this, to me, is kind of liberating and energizing. So I don't want to be looking and try and copy a sketch. Some people, it works well for them, and that's great. I know it's about that time. Okay.
Can you walk us through, like, before going into the studio or in the studio, what do you do to get into the mindset of painting, to get that gestural use?
I look at a little board and see if there's a deadline for it. My deadline.
Do you listen to music?
Oh, yeah.
What do you listen to?
I listen to all of your music, both classical and contemporary. My musician grandson used to love Walter. I like movie blues, I like rock and roll, I like everything, but I switch it around. I like choral music, times too. I like Gregorian chant music, believe it or not. I put that on some when I want to get a little spiritual.
Do you work on multiple pieces at once or one at a time?
I might start on one and have that one going, but by the time that one gets done, there might be 4 or 5 other ones that are there. I mean, I just this past week, I kind of finished up working on about 5 of them. I can't leave them alone. If I walk in the studio and I haven't seen it overnight, and I walk in and I look at it, maybe something pops and says, oh, what, here, fix this. So I can't leave them alone. Like I said, I want to go back and paint on that.
So you talked about running and Brown as influences.
Yes.
Was Robert Nelson
Yes.
even
Yeah, it was there. I didn't take any classes from Robert Nelson, but he was a great artist, amazing artist, even a more amazing character. also has badger dog. I'll go fifth or fourth or seventh. He loves history. Robert Nelson was a part of the cavalry, mounted cavalry out of Fort Ransom for a number of years. And he got the name badger dog because the cowboys said, that man is built like a badger dog. Short, soft, thick neck. This badger dog. Did I talk to you once? I got a watercolor I did of badger dog holding his horse in his uniform, and I put it in an exhibit that I know he saw, and he never mentioned it. If he didn't like it or would he like it, I still have it, and I'll give it to you. When I find it, next time we move to the studio. Yes.
Yeah, getting back to your, talk a little bit of just a moment ago about fixing paintings and going back and looking at them and saying, oh, I need to do this. Do you have a place where you say, I'm not going to do that anymore? Because some artists just keep doing that until they own the painting.
I'd get rid of them. If they move down the road, I don't have to worry about it. No, I've got stuff, but I'm not going to go back into it, even though I see where it should be.
So
I mean,
you
I've
know
got a
when
piece under plexiglass at the studio. I think I'm not going to put my daughter through this, taking that apart just so I can fix that. No. You got to draw a line someplace. You can only be so compulsive for so long. Getting warm. We have, anybody got one that really just got it all?
I want to know about the skull, the buffalo skull.
Oh, I've been doing lots of skulls. I've always done lots of skulls. The first painting I did in Concordia was a skull painting. Horrible thing. It was hanging down in our basement pantry, food pantry. There, I was going to bring it along to show you how horrible it was. But this is a very recent one, where I like skulls. You know, there were people painting skulls before George O'Keeffe came along. You know, so I've always liked them for whatever reason, sick or good. So they're very expressionistic also, I think, in the way that I work with them. And by the way, I want to recommend the book. Have you read it? I highly recommend this book. If you want to know what the real art world is about, this is it. This is a New York Times writer who wanted to find the meaning of art, how to have an aesthetic experience in New York. So she became a New York art gallery worker and all of that. And it's quite an amazing expose on big city art and the international art scene and all that. And there were two people from Minot who figured prominently here, the reflectors from Minot. They had a big show 20 years ago. He's a doctor and his partner. And they figured prominently for a chapter in here. And the one that's most interesting to me is fire. She's a performance artist and an influencer. And she likes to sell in people's spaces. That's how she influences people. She figures in her chapter. It's about how crazy the art scene is in the international and in the big city realm. It's nothing stable and wonderful like it's Rourke. So check it out at the library or look for a copy of it. You'll find it entertaining. And that should do it, right, Paul?
Art at Concordia College.
I didn't work much on it this year. Because I wanted to paint diamonds.
Are there
influential, like that, who use color in the way that have influenced you?
Well, I've been influenced by so many people, I'm sure. And I love so many different kinds of art. The art of illustrators now is amazing, the painterliness of what illustrators are doing now as opposed to old photorealist kinds of things. So, yeah, I mean, I love Willem de Kooning, his women's series. I mean, if you can find me a more powerful painting than some of those paintings that he did of a fierce woman, I'd like to see it. I mean, he was amazing. And yet I like Larry Rivers, who was very photographic at times and very abstract at the same time. So I'm very excited.
Any particular classical schools of art that had your favorites or that had a great influence on you?
Classical,
Yeah.
I like them all in art history. They were all. You got to remember, I grew up in a household that had one painting on the wall. One. And it was Jesus kneeling at the rock in the Garden of Gethsemane. So I was amazed by everything I saw. Overwhelmed, really. Okay, folks.
Folks, we've got coffee, we've got cookies, please help us distinguish. We'll get the light back on so you can look all pictures of it. We also just recently opened our annual Halloween exhibit upstairs. Boy, be prepared for that theme. There are some pieces that are pretty significant.
My name is Patrick. I'm friends on Facebook.
I know, I had to start shedding, it was slippery.
He brought me a glass of water and I didn't even see it down there.